Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to take a look real quick at the ability to communicate with the user about the state of the game or updates that they need to get to. This is a non-UMG, non-user interface look at the ability to convey objectives and updates to the player. So this is like an early white boxy prototype level communication. So in this particular example, we're going to start the player off here, and we want them to be told to go collect a bucket of water. So the idea is that they get to see the water, they get to see the bucket, they go interact with the system, and then when they do that, they're told to go deliver the bucket, and then they get here, they said, oh, I have to way down the ramp to be able to get out of here. Looks like I need more buckets, and they come over here, they have to find the more buckets and come back. And so we just want to prompt them with a few things, but we don't want to have to create a timed set of updates that go onto the screen. So we're going to create a blueprint that will allow us to prompt the player at the different points as they get to different parts of the environment. So at the most remedial sense, we're going to do a baseline implementation, and then we're going to try to amp it up a little bit. And what we're going to do is leave some hooks in there. So as we go to build out UMG and connect to our HUD, that we'll have a very clear place to plug in to the more robust system that we're going to be using later as we develop this out. So let's start off by going to our gameplay blueprint folder, and we're going to add a new blueprint class. It's going to be an actor class, and we're just going to call it, let's see, quest trigger, right? And as we get into that, I'm going to start by adding a box collision to this. So I'll come up here into the components list, box collision. This will give me a overlapping collision box that will allow me to interact with it. Objects, I can check to see what interacts with it. We'll use some different methods here. I'll show you how that works. The box extents. This is the half size. So if I do 50 by 50 by 50, it's actually a 100 by 100 by 100 box. It's just the distance from the center is 50, and the distance from the bottom is 50, and the distance from the front and the back is 50. So as we have this box, we're going to name this something more meaningful. I'm going to name this trigger, so we know exactly what it is. And when I go to my event graph, I'm going to select the trigger, and I have two ways to get the event that I want out of this. One, I can scroll all the way down to the right, and I can see this on component begin overlap. These are all the events that are attached to this this object. Or if I have it selected, I can right click, and then in the context sensitive menu, I can say add event for trigger, a type of collision, and I want to say on component begin overlap. So on component begin overlap, the most remedial thing we want to do is to notify the world, print string, hello. Let's verify that this works on its own before we go any further with our development. So I'm going to minimize this. We're going to place our actor in the world. I'll just put it right there in front of the player's paths so I can't miss it. And as I walk, you'll see in the upper left corner, I should get the notification hello. And of course, it says hello. But it says hello every time I run past. And a neat little issue that we've created is that if I have a object here and I put physics on it, that when I play, well, it also needs to have collision enabled. So if there are objects that have generate overlap events, there we go. Now it'll say hello when that object runs in and out of the queue as well. So if I send that block down there, it'll say hello as it runs through. So we don't necessarily want that. What we do want is for it to register only when we walk through. Two general ways we want to approach that. There are a few other ways, but the two most common ways is the ability to check to see is the thing the player. So the other actor is information I have when something begins to overlap. It's going to tell it what that other actor is. So I can just come over here and check to see is the other actor equal to the player character. And if that's true, I'll pull out a branch node here, say if. If that's true, then I want to fire off this print string. So I can reroute from this print string. I can hold on control, click and drag this over here, and then I can do true. So if the thing that overlaps is the character, then that'll be what we're looking for. Just to verify that it's not doing the wrong thing now. Again, I'll put the sphere here. We'll generate overlap events and turn on physics. So it didn't say hello yet, and then when I run into it, it does say hello. So it's doing the thing that we want. Let's verify that under a different method. Some people will tell you not to use casts because they're expensive. Casts can be expensive, but if you're not using them in a loop, and it's checking for an object type that's already in memory, that it shouldn't be a problem. So the player character should be in memory. So we're going to say cast BP play character. And I'm pulling this up now because we're going to reference this in the future, and it's important that you understand that there are ways to not use cast, but in this particular case, the cast is basically giving us the true and false on whether or not this is that type of character. This isn't telling us if it is the player character, but that it is a type of player character. And then if that is correct, then we're gonna run scripts based off of how this thing is. So if that's true, then we'll run the script. Let's just go verify one more time that we haven't broken anything. That doesn't work, and it does register me. All right, so you'll notice it said hello several times. So one thing I want to do to limit the exposure of how I'm interacting with the system is I want to make sure that it only does the thing once, right? And so we want to do once. This is going to allow us to interact with the system, and then when I come back after it's disappeared and I go forward, you'll notice it no longer is interactive. So do once keeps the system from firing again. It'll fire from here, and then it'll die on this line because this is basically a closed gate. Now we're going to be printing string. There's a couple different ways to put information out to the user. There's the log, there's string, there's on-screen text, and there's UMG. So consider that we're starting with the most remedial, easily accessible thing, and we'll move towards more refined content later as we get a better handle on this. So this system allows me to say one thing at a time, and that means that if I wanted to have this system communicate with me one piece of information and another system communicate a different piece of information, I would need to have a different blueprint class for each one. That seems extremely cumbersome, and as a designer, as a developer, we can do better. Also, I'm going to modify the trigger volume for this just to make it a little bit bigger so we can't miss it. Let's find some good numbers here. There we go. All right, so now I cannot bypass this without triggering that event. So that's for this particular instance. I want to go back and look at the blueprint and figure out a way that I can communicate to the user on a per instance basis. And so what I'd like to do is take this string and I'm going to right click, promote it to a variable, and that's just going to take whatever value I had in there and it's going to make it a default thing. So we're going to say this is the quest update. And when I compile, you see right now, without compiling, it says please compile. I can't edit it. When I compile, it'll say hello because that's what was there. So we'll have the default text here say text needed. So this is now text that's going to tell the developer, hey, you haven't put in the intentional thing. So make sure that you do this. So I have this text value, and if I just click on this little eyeball here, you'll notice a checkbox fires off up here, instance editable. That means that when I go place this thing in the world, if I select it, I should be able to have, did I grab the right thing? Here we go. I have my quest update text, and so if this says quest update text needed, so as I walk into it, it says quest update text needed. Now I can say quest update text now present, and I can walk in forward, and that'll say update text now present. And I could take this same actor and clone it over here, or I could pull it in from the project browser, content browser, and I can come over here, and I can say ta-da for this one, and leave that one as its default, and you'll see this one, we got 1, 2, 3 different text updates. Right, and so they're all firing off just once as I get up to them. So this is the remedial way to interact and present information to the player. Now, it's still going to be firing off each one of these queues, the collision checks after I go through. So what I might want to do is clean up my asset. If it's only going to be used once, then maybe I'll put a delay. And after the delay, I'll destroy the actor self, right? And so this will allow me to clean up so that there isn't a bunch of random collision checks being drawn after the player gets through an area. And for the duration, I probably want to match the duration of the delay to the duration of the print string. And so rather than trying to just magically memorize these numbers for each of them, and considering that there might be a longer message that needs to be conveyed to the user, and so the text would need to be on screen for longer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to promote duration to a variable, and I'm going to expose it, and then I'm going to use duration for the print string duration as well as for my duration for the delay. And now, no matter what I set that value to, they will always be matched. There we go. And the reroute node's helping us to keep things clean. So with that being instance editable, now I can look back. I can say this one, we'll leave that up for 3 seconds. Ta-da, only needs to be up for 1 second. And then we'll have the quest update needed. Maybe we'll set the default up to 5 seconds. Let's set the default high to make sure the designer really sees and knows that that needs to happen. A good rule of thumb for text in games in terms of duration is that if you are the author of that text, you should read it out loud and take twice as long as that as it took you to speak it out loud should be how long it's on screen. If it's particularly critical, then you can add another 50% time onto that. All right, so now as I walk through, I get this up for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and then this one's up for 1 second, and then this one will be up for 5 seconds, telling the designer it needs to be something different. So that gets us a baseline. We could extend this a little bit further. Let's take this out and say we want to present to the player now a on-screen representation of the text. So I'm going to add a text render component to this. And so the text render is just a physical 3D element that shows text in the world. You can get different fonts, whatever you want to do with that, but the idea is that this is text that shows up in world. So we're gonna make sure the player doesn't miss this, and we're gonna be able to dynamically assign the value of this text. So if I have this, whatever the player comes in there, rather than doing print string, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the text render, and I'm going to have the text render set text. And since we're looking for a text value, what I'm going to do is instead of doing the string as the quest update, I'm going to modify this to text, and I'm just going to plug that in here, and I can take this print string from here down to here. It's starting to get a little messy, but I don't need the duration anymore for the print string because my set text is going to be removed. I'm going to take the text render by default. Let's get our position correct so the text is facing the wrong way. Before we go to activate and destroy that, let's make sure the text is quest update now present. All right, so the text is showing up, but doesn't show up from the wrong direction. So we probably want to do something where the text is always going to be facing the player. So I'm going to need to set up a way for the text to face the player. So let's get the text renderer, and we're going to set rotation. And I'm thinking about this, and I probably only need to set the Z rotation. Oh my goodness. If I could type. So right down here, make rotator. So I only need to set the Z rotation. So this is what I want to do. The question is, when do I want to do it? I'm going to want to do it on a regular basis. So I probably want to have some sort of timer that's going to be firing this off because it would be irresponsible of me to launch this on tick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a timer that starts when the object is added to the world and plays. So we're going to set timer by event. And so for this, we'll just go 0.1 and we'll set it to looping, and we'll come down and do custom event, and we're going to call it face player. So this will set the world rotation to some value every 0.1 seconds. Now, if we look at the class defaults, the tick interval is 0, which means it's going to default to the system tick. So if less than or equal to 0, it will tick every frame. So whatever your your system is taking is going to be faster than this. Typically, high-end PCs, you're talking on well-performing games, 0.02 to 0.008 would be the range for your tick. And so inside of this, if we have a timer by event, this is going to go 0.1 seconds. It's 5 times less demanding than the regular tick. So I'm going to have the face player is going to try and get a particular value to tell me where to look. So what I need to get is a little function called look at. So you'll see there's a look at animation function, a look at rotator for math. This is the one that we want. We want the find look at rotation. So this is going to require that we have 2 locations, a starting location and an ending location. For the starting location, we just want the text renderer. So get actor location. In fact, we could even be a little bit more specific and say get world location for the component, and that way if we wanted to move the object a little bit, we can do that without having to have it float in relationship to the base default scene root. And then for the look at rotation, for where we're going to target, we want to get player character, and I don't need a cast for this because I don't care anything about it other than where it is, and get actor location. And so what this is doing is going to say, where am I, where is the target, and then the look at rotation is going to produce a value out that is going to give me a specific rotation to aim one thing directly at the other. So I'll split the structure, I'll pass the Z in, and that should be fine. In fact, we can simplify this graph a little bit. Just take the Z in across. So let's see if this is working to start. Looks like it's always facing at the character, and then the system deleted itself. Perfect. And if you want it to be a little bit smoother, you can decrease the time on the loop. All right, so the look duration is working. So now that that's effective, what we want to do is make sure that the text is only showing when the event is going on, and that we're only running the face player event, because we're basically running ticks on all the text out in the distance. If I go to play, you guys should be able to see all the text is facing the player out here. So I'm running ticks on all of those before I ever get over there. Even if I hide the text, it's still running this. So I'm going to go and immediately pause timer by function name. And so the function name is the face player. So if I grab that function name, I can just copy and paste that in here. So that'll pause that timer immediately. And then later, when it comes time to do this, when it comes time to show the content, I can, down here, I can unpause timer. I can click by function name. And events are, for all intents and purposes, functions, even though functions don't have their own tick, events do. And so we have the face player will unpause when that happens. So it isn't facing the correct direction right now, and then when I interact with it, it does face the correct direction. And then I want to make sure that the text isn't visible before that, so I'm just going to come over here and change the text value of the text renderer to empty. And now it should look like a clear world, and when I step in, I get the text prompt, and it's facing the player. One thing we might want to do to the text renderer is come back and have it be center aligned. That way things aren't flipping around. And then possibly with that text, we want to push things back a little bit. All right, so it looks like we're starting to get a representation of how to present information on screen. We have a little bit of delay, things like that. In the area where we're doing the set text and do the renderer, this is where we're going to actually push information out to our HUD once we get it. So update text to player. So now that I have the system working, this is an extensible asset that I can drop into the world to allow me to express information to the player without having to recreate something every time I want to show it to the player. So this is still fairly remedial, but it does get the point across for playtesting and whiteboxing. I can start to set up something where someone who's not familiar with the exact inner workings of the level can see what's supposed to be going on and how they experience it. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what to do as you're preparing to build walkthroughs and blockouts of your levels, and hopefully it lets you keep building.